All right. So, my name is Ali. I am one of the admissions counselors here at CCS, and tonight we are going to go through um, the different creative careers that just exist out there in general. We're going to start off talking about where some of the alumni that we have at CCS are at. Um, just to kind of start off with a good foundation of what's out there. And then at the end of well, kind of like halfway through the presentation, we will go through just what our programs are, the kinds of careers that are attainable through those programs. And then, like I was saying, at the end, there will be plenty of time for any questions that you might have, even if it's not about something that we directly discussed tonight. Um, just so you have a chance to get the answers that you need. So we're going to start off with the very first person up here, which is Tim Flattery. Tim graduated in 1987 out of our transportation design major, and he's actually currently serving as both our Dean of Undergraduate Studies and our provost. He is a super, super awesome person as an educator, but also as a professional artist. So I assume that a lot of people probably already recognize what they are seeing on the screen today, which is, the Avengers. So Tim has been working as a professional in the entertainment industry as a concept designer for a very, very long time. Um, and he has worked on over 40 films, including a huge chunk of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, things like The Hunger Games, Transformers, um, and a lot of like his recent stuff is like, you know, super high-end technology, doing a lot of really cool things, but also out of all of the Batmobiles that exist in film, and there's not that many, I think there's like 6 or 7, only or two of them have been designed by CCS alumni, one of them being Tim Flattery and the other being Ed Natividad. So it's a really, really cool thing that we have to offer to our students. And then also, like you can see, it's not necessarily direct, right? Careers aren't always like, oh, I majored in X, and so now I am doing that as a profession. Tim majored in transportation design and then went on to have a very successful career in the entertainment industry, designing vehicles and other sorts of technology and props. He helped design the Infinity Gauntlet. Um, and that's not like exactly what he went to school for, but it helped the skills that he learned directly translated to the same stuff that he was doing in the professional world. So then next, I want to talk about Sarah Bromley. So she started at CCS as an art practice student, which is kind of our more fine arts style major. But she kind of hung out through a few different CGI like tech demos and realized that that was what she wanted to do. So she moved to our entertainment arts major. She started doing a bunch of stuff in 3D, working with CGI. And then she went on to do some of the VFX for films like Black Panther. And she's currently working in Detroit at a company called Armstrong White, which is a company that we work a lot with as far as just like our alumni end up there, because it's just a good 3D modeling company here. It works with the automotive industry, and some of the other like industrial design oriented things around the state. So let's get you guys a video. We will go with this one. So I assume everybody here tonight has seen Star Wars in some way, shape, or form. And if you have seen The Mandalorian, you have seen work that numerous CCS alumni have contributed to, and specifically, we're going to see Matthew Dale and Andre Empson, who are both alumni of our Entertainment Arts Department. And then let me know in the chat if for any reason the audio is a little bit funky, but it should, I have the settings on, so hopefully it's fine. But let me know if you're having any issues and it's lagging or you can't hear it. Or it's echoing, who knows?
My favorite part of this job is, as corny as it sounds, it's making cool stuff. Designing creatures, like how cool is that? I go to work and it doesn't feel like work. It's a career. It's like your dream job,
I feel so blessed to be able to say that I live out here and I work out here doing something that I love and that I honestly feel like I shouldn't get paid to do. visual effects company. We get the footage after everything has been shot, and we're expected to add to the footage. And there's a very multi-step process involved in that.
A regular workday for me here at Pixamundo, as a CG generalist, it would be lighting, rendering, texturing, creating assets for whatever show that we're working on at the time.
After these multiple step processes, it finally reaches compositing, and I bring together all of the footage, the lighting, the CGI, the texturing, the camera movement, and just bring it all together into one, and we try to make it seem seamless. The end goal is to make the director happy and the clients happy, and we're willing to do anything to do that.
The coolest project that I've worked on for sure has to be The Mandalorian. Big Star Wars fan growing up. I know when I heard we got the gig, I was very, very excited about it.
I fell in love with Star Wars very early on, and the fact that I could say that I actually contributed to one of their projects is unbelievable. My number one thing that I love in this industry is the opportunity and the potential that one could have, and it's limitless. It literally is limitless. You can go travel all around the world, get paid a tremendous amount of money. There's just endless opportunity, and I'm ready to take it all on.
Having all my work finally, in front of me and realizing that, this is something I was a part of, it's very, very exciting. And just, going back home and showing all my friends, what I've worked on in the past few years, it feels pretty good.
I've worked very, very hard to get to this point at CCS, and the fact that just continuously pushing towards a certain goal, and it's a dream come true, honestly.
All right, so I think that video touches on a lot of really awesome things. I love just seeing the perspective of seeing like the little bit of behind the scenes of, what that world looks like, but also just the fact that, we're here to teach you how to do those things. You don't need to know a single thing about how compositing CG into a live action show works like at all. That is 100% something that we can help walk you through and get you the tools that you need to learn how to do that. But then also the fact that, there's a really high rate of career satisfaction among creative fields. You get to go to work and do something that you are passionate about every day, something that you've probably been thinking about doing since high school or earlier. And I think that creative fields are really special just because of stuff like that. We're going to look at one more that is a little bit entertainment industry focused, but I like Scott Malwitz because he's working with Star Wars, he's working with media franchises that but he might be doing it a little bit differently than somebody that's actually making the media itself. So Scott Malwitz graduated in 1986 out of our product design major. And he is working at Disney as one of the creative directors for specifically in these images, the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for Disney's Hollywood Studios. So he's actually the person who's out there, coming up with some of the ideas and drafting out the plans and creating the physical spaces that you were going to walk around and like enjoy as a guest at Disney, which is like just its own whole thing. And I think it's so awesome that you get to be a part of that. So you're not just thinking about the visuals and translating it from the book or from the films to real life. You're thinking about the sights, the smells, the tastes, how to immerse the people that are there in the world that you're creating. All right. Hold on, I'm gonna take a peek. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna look at hide this. Can you see this bar? There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So next we are going to look at, hold on, I have to find him. There we go. Brett Renfer, and we're gonna watch one more video just because I think what he's doing is super cool. He is a creative director slash experience designer, currently working at a company called Blue Cadet in New York City. But he's previously worked for Intel, Google, the Whitney Museum of Art, JetBlue, like the airlines. And he's designing like conceptual experiences in physical spaces in the real world, where people come in and they get to interact with these basically like interactive art installations. So this is kind of up the alley of somebody who might be interested in communication design, just because a lot of this stuff is kind of tangential to that, and definitely something that we encourage our students to explore.
So my name is Brett Renfer. I graduated in 2008 as a graphic design major with this focus on interaction design. And so now I sort of oscillate between calling myself an interaction designer or experience designer. I primarily build experiences in spaces that use technology to try to connect people to stories, whether that be through exhibition or branding or just things that can happen among people in physical spaces. A lot of the things I do, use technology to allow people to really get hands-on in a way that they might not be able to. Like you can't, touch a painting usually, but you can touch something on screen and get, closer than you ever could. I had professor after professor where I would just say, start talking and rambling as much as I'm doing now, and they would just say, make something, like try it, do it. And that has actually become one of the driving forces of my career. Like I give workshops and I teach about prototyping, about making, about trying to think about ideas in space. There's so many different ways to tackle the creative process, and there's so much that you have to invest from yourself, like personally, to really make these projects successful and meaningful. And that's the exciting thing about going to school where you do that,
All right, so we've heard a lot about people that are working for like super big companies and doing a lot of really large scale projects for things that you've heard of before. But I also want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that not all creative careers have to look like that, and that there's a lot of other options out there that can be just as fulfilling and just as successful, without having to go too far from home. So Henry Chrisman and Virginia Torrance were both CCS Craft Material Studies alumni. And one of the really awesome things that they did after they completed their master's in ceramics from Alfred is come back and start a community ceramics program out of their home in Hamtramck, which is a little, if you're not from the Metro Detroit area, is a little tiny city inside of Detroit. And it is just a really awesome way that they get to have, a local place for students to come in and learn ceramics without necessarily, because like attending a college like CCS, learning ceramics, totally a thing. That's not accessible for every single person. And this is a way that literally anybody can come in and learn about ceramics. And they have an artist residency program. They have studio access for people who just want to come in and work. And they just have a lot of public facing programs. So they have a safe, supportive, and communal platform for artists and education. So that's a really awesome way. They kickstarted this whole thing. It's been really successful. It's so cool. And then, let's see. We can talk about Molly Gillies. So obviously CCS is kind of like the car design school, right? And we have our transportation design major, which is a pretty straightforward way into the automotive industry. But I think a lot of people don't always recognize that there are other ways to forge that path, that don't always look like, I come in, I draw cars, and then I go on professionally and draw cars. So Molly came in to our craft and material studies major, specializing in ceramics. And what's really cool is that her grandfather took a very, very similar path. So Molly has worked on the new Ford Bronco, doing the automotive clay modeling for that. And so essentially, it's not just all machining and engineers behind some of these designs for these vehicles. They are still creating these life-size scale clay models of the vehicles that before they actually manufacture them. It's a really integral part of pretty much like a lot of different studios still to this day. And so from a ceramics education, from a very traditional hands-on craft-oriented background, you can go and get a career for one of these major corporations, continuing to do exactly that, whether that is working with fibers and doing trim and interior textile design, or following a route like this. What I love about Molly's story is that she has taken on this family legacy because her grandfather worked on the original Bronco um, way back in the 1960s. So she's literally getting to work with the same tools, the same skill set, and essentially doing the same thing because the industry, it's obviously always progressing, always changing. There's the advent of 3D modeling and all of that, but they still hold on to some of these traditions. All right, so do we do one more? Let's talk about Veronica Scott. So Veronica Scott came in to our product design major, and literally while she was still a student, she was posed the question of designing something that fills a need. And her original solution was to design a coat that could be converted into a sleeping bag so that the homeless population would always have something, with them to keep them warm. And essentially, she went out into the the she went out and she actually interviewed some of the people that she was making her design for, and they said, we don't really need a coat as much as we just need a job. And so Veronica took that back to her classroom with her, and she started figuring out an entire business plan literally while she was a junior at CCS. And essentially that turned into the Empowerment Plan, which is a nonprofit that's just here in Detroit, where now she trains and she employs women who live in shelters so they can gain a skill, earn a living wage, and create a more stable situation for their family, while also still producing these coat sleeping bags and then giving them away for free to those who need them. Originally, she started with just 3 workers, and now it has grown to become a $4.5 million enterprise, with 50,000 coats across the world. And now they have 95 hires that have been able to move from the shelter and into permanent housing within 4 to 6 weeks of starting working with her. She's won awards for this project, and she's just kind of like, going out there and changing the world with something that originally just started as a project in her classroom. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities for students. Like, we teach you entrepreneurship skills, we teach you the business skills. It's not just, learning how to draw. So I think we've covered quite a few of our alumni, but if you see anything up here that is catching your eye and you want me to go back and we have time later, just let me know. But I think for now, we are going to just kind of jump into a few brief statistics about the school, but then I mostly want to get into going through our programs. So we are going to talk a little bit about CCS. So we're founded in 1906. We are a fully accredited institution, so we are offering a Bachelor's of Fine Arts, the full 4-year degree. We have a lot of programs that are STEM designated. We are integrating science and technology into every single one of our, any of our classrooms, like transportation design, animation, product design, communication design, etc. And we are nonprofit, we are independent, and we are private. I think that that's really important just because we have a lot of say over the curriculum. We get to say, like, you don't need to take a ton of prerequisite math classes because you're going to art school. And at the end of the day, you need to have like the realistic skills. But it's going to be a lot more helpful to have all these classes that are going to help you build your portfolio, and you get to take a class in your major, literally your very first semester that you're here. And it's really all oriented around you as a creative. And that's something that being an independent and private school really lets us achieve. This is just a little preview of what our programs look like, but we're going to go through them all in just a second. We're a pretty good sized school, 1,400 students, 9-to-1 student to faculty ratio. We are not so large that you are going to be in a giant classroom where you are with like 200 to 300 people in a lecture hall and you're pushing a buzzer to get your teacher's attention. We do not do that at all. You will usually be in a classroom that is like 10 to 20 students, depending on how niche the class is. So you have a lot of opportunities to get your teacher's attention and get personalized feedback from your classmates and your teacher, and really just get what you need out of the class. But we're also not so small that we don't have as many resources to offer you. We are really well connected and we're really proud of that. So just in the US alone, there are more than 2.3 million active artists in our workforce, and the creative careers and like projections on a lot of creative industries are only growing right now. It's a really awesome time to be a designer. It's a really awesome time to be a creative. And we're not just some random school in Michigan. A lot of people, it's like, yeah, we are the most conveniently close school to you, but also we are a top competing school. Like we are out there, we're doing a lot of really cool things, and a lot of different places are recognizing that. This was kind of the main page that I wanted to get to, since today's all about careers. These are just a sampling of some of the companies that our alumni are employed at. So these aren't just like random places. These are companies like Tesla, Warner Brothers, Carhartt, ABC, Whirlpool. You probably have appliances in your home that CCS alumni were part of the design team on. You probably drive a car that CCS alumni could have been a part of the design teams of. Pretty much every major automotive company that you can think of. And then we have companies like Marvel, Disney, Nickelodeon. We're out there. We're doing a lot of really cool things. This is kind of a lot of text in your face all at once right now, but this is a sampling of our student internships and the companies that they were at from 2015 to 2019. I'm going to let it sit on it for just a second, so you can kind of read through and maybe your favorite company will catch your eye, but we're going to move on. So this is one of my favorite statistics from this last year at CCS, which is that we interacted with 713 different companies in our 2021 to 2022 school year, which was last school year. I'm so excited to get the statistics for this year once the semester ends, because I feel like it just keeps getting more exciting every year. We really, really care about networking. We really care about getting our students in contact with the companies that they're interested in, and getting those companies to actually come to our campus and look at our students and look at their work, offer them feedback. We are really, really big on the idea of experiential learning and making sure that our students are not just being taught the technical skills in the classroom. Like we are doing that. That's important. That's, part of what gets you the job in the first place. But at the end of the day, having a good network, having good skills when it comes to resume building, interviewing, understanding what the industry that you're going into is looking for and what it looks like and how to navigate it. We incorporate a lot of different things in our classrooms. From our sponsored studio projects. And actually, I think we have the time. I'm going to play this just because this is going to be a really good overview of what a sponsored studio project can look like. So our sponsored studios, a company is actually coming into the classroom and working with our students. So they are getting a really awesome resume and portfolio building opportunity. And this one specifically is with a company called Zenith, and they'll tell you a little bit about themselves.
At Zenith, we are a Detroit-based company that designs outstanding products for the football athlete from head to ankle. We are best known for our protective gear, both helmets and shoulder pads. Really proud to do that from right here in Detroit. Zenith is incredibly proud of the track record and partnership that we have established with College for Creative Studies. It all started with a sponsored studio in 2017. For us here at Zenith, we did not have a fully staffed product team at the time. We now have 5 College for Creative Studies alum. And again, it's one of these things that you never could have predicted or anticipated. Each year, we at Zenith try to continue evolving, continue raising the bar, and enhance and deepen the partnership with College for Creative Studies, because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the best environment for both organizations to thrive and to continue getting better and continue evolving.
All right, so we're gonna look at a little brief overview of our campus. I definitely encourage you to, if you are nearby, just come visit. We have weekday campus tours that run pretty much all the time. There's a little bit of a pause right now for the month of May, just because this is the time when all of our students are graduating or, finishing up their finals, and we want to give them that time and that space and that break. But come back in June and we will have those running again. We also have our open houses. So if you are looking at a chance to make a special little trip out to Detroit to check things out, I think the open houses are the best thing you can do. We have faculty on campus who are there to talk to you. They will tell you exactly where all of their students are getting internships right now. They are usually more than happy to brag about that. And it's just a really good time. You get to tour campus. We give you a free lunch. It's fun. The next one is June 24th. And then the rest will be announced later because they will be coming in September, October, November, etc. So we are in Detroit. We are in our Walter and Josephine Ford campus is located in Midtown Detroit, right across the street from the DIA. And the Taubman Center, which is now the other half of our school, is about a mile up Woodward. We have a shuttle that runs 24/7 between the two. And I am just going to quickly scroll and talk through some of these studio photos. So essentially, one of the things that we do at CCS is make sure that the studios, the classrooms, the work environments, the labs are all set up in ways similar to the way that they would be in the professional world for whatever major you might be into. So the glassblowing studio is like a professional glassblowing studio. Our advertising design program, they are running their classes just like you were in an actual advertising studio. Delegating different tasks to different people depending on what people's strengths are. Letting people kind of experience different roles as director or creative director. We have access to all of our students to have the highest end equipment, whatever is the most recent that the industry professionals are using. We try to keep up to date with that because we want you to go out into the world and be ready to just step out from college to professional and not have it be the super clunky, awkward transition. All right, so we do have housing. Definitely, if you have questions about it, let me know and we will go back to that. But I really want to dive into our programs. So for the sake of letting you guys get some questions in at the end, we're going to just kind of briefly go through everything, but you will see it all. So advertising design and copywriting. So the different careers, every single slide that we go through will have the careers listed, and you will have the opportunity to kind of read through them. But I'll also tell you a little bit. Like I was saying, our advertising design and copywriting major is set up to kind of function, like a professional studio would. It's a very multimedia major. It is intended for people from all sorts of different backgrounds who are interested in the advertising world to be able to come in and do their thing. Whether they're interested in graphic design, web design, photography, illustration, they can all find a place here. We teach you how to be a director, design entire ad campaigns, and that can go into a lot of different worlds. We also have an emphasis in copywriting, which is essentially the writing for the advertisements. So when you think of a company like Nike and they have their slogan, "Just do it," that is just as important to their brand as the iconic little swoosh logo. So then we have our art practice major. So this is kind of the traditional fine arts major at CCS. However, our students are doing a lot more than just learning their own independent practice. That is a huge part of the major, is developing your own style of art that you enjoy doing, whether that is painting, sculpture, video. We really encourage a lot of experimentation and research and figuring out what is for you in this major. However, we are also teaching all of the business skills, the entrepreneurship, the survival skills that you need to go out and be an independent artist in the world. And maybe the independent path isn't for you. We'll teach that, but maybe you're more interested in working in galleries. Maybe you're interested in working for a museum. Going into arts administration and doing some of the behind the scenes stuff for those kinds of institutions. Or maybe you're interested in writing, criticism. There's a lot of different options out there, and we will definitely help you get there. We have a really exciting new restoration class that's starting up next semester, allegedly, that I think sounds so cool. So then we have communication design. So I know that there was someone in the chat earlier that mentioned that that was what they might be interested in. So communication design at CCS is taking all of the graphic design fundamentals and making it a little bit more dynamic by integrating technology, interaction design, motion design, user experience design, all into the pot. So we're teaching you all of the same skills like typography and learning how to work with color and print. But then we're also teaching you how to expand that into other things that are really, really desirable by companies right now. You can see in the bottom left corner, there's the little reel, which is motion design, learning how to animate using things like After Effects, or there's a really big 3D motion design. It's gone. There's a really big program that we teach that I've just lost. We teach it though. But definitely you are learning how to create a corporate identity, a brand, applying it to packaging, websites, interaction design, like you saw in Brett Renfre's video earlier, where it's like an actual physical 3D world space that you go into and you interact with, and it changes and it's very immersive. And thinking about the experiences that these people are having while interacting with your art. So then we have our craft and material studies major. So craft and material studies is going to be merged into our art practice major next semester. However, all of the things that we see are still absolutely going to be taught and can be focused on within that. So have no fear, it's not going away. It's just a formality change, basically, if you think about it that way. So we have our ceramics program. Every single one of the craft concentrations is teaching both the traditional craft behind whatever their field of choice is. So you are learning all of the traditional techniques. You could also be learning ways that you can apply that to the world of modern design and go into a more commercial field. So for example, our ceramic students, they are doing all of the, traditional things that you can think of: wheel throwing, learning how to build with their hands, learning how to do slip casting, etc. But they're also learning the science behind clay and their glazes and how that can be applied to other things. And also, we have like a 3D ceramics printer. There's a lot of cool things going on. And then also you saw Molly Gillies earlier, who is working in the automotive industry as a clay modeler. So then the same goes for fibers and textiles. So you can go into, textile design, doing surface design, color and trim for interiors, both like in somebody's home, in a business, in an automotive, to being a fine artist, working in galleries. You can see a lot of examples of work that might be a little bit more avant-garde down here at the bottom, while you can also see work that might align a little bit more with something that you would see in a, like in an actual like printed, mass-produced way as well. So then we have our glass major, our glass concentration within ceramics. And the same thing goes. You are learning how to build these small, functional, usable pieces, but also how to build like giant sculptural installation pieces, whatever is personally appealing to you as an artist. A lot of our students are going into be independent artists or work for a glass house or working as a production artist for a glass studio. Glass is one of those things that's very hard to mass produce with only machinery. So there's a lot of jobs out there for people that are really interested in, just the physical act of making. And then last but not least, we have metalsmithing and jewelry. So our students are doing everything from small scale, detailed, intricate things to working in our blacksmithing studio and our foundry. So then we have our entertainment arts major, which is also broken down into concentrations. So we have our animation major, which is the very first one that we're going to look at. Our students are learning everything from 2D to 3D to stop motion and everything in between, even if it's some really weird experimental stuff. We love that. So we have everything from being an actual animator, going in, somebody hands you all these storyboards and you go through and you create the life and add the movement to that. Or maybe you are just doing the 3D modeling and the pre-production. Maybe you are doing motion graphics, just like we saw with the communication designers. There's a big overlap there. It just depends on what you're personally passionate about. Maybe you want to learn more of the animation, maybe you want to learn more of the graphic design side of things. The really awesome thing about our curriculum is that we try to be really flexible. So if, learning a bunch of graphic design skills is going to be more useful to you than taking a bunch of animation electives, then we absolutely encourage you to kind of, wiggle things around, figure out what works best for you. And then, things like storyboarding or just going in there and compositing everything into the final animation. So we have concept design. Concept, like we were looking at with Tim Flattery earlier, is the basically the industrial design of the entertainment world. You are really learning how to bring the director's vision to life. And it's kind of like a little bit more of like an engineering minded kind of thing. You are thinking about how things would work, why they would work, how they fit into the world, every single nitty gritty detail. Both with characters, creatures, environments, hardware, props, etc. It all comes together. And this is a little bit of an advanced program at CCS. So we do expect a little bit more of an advanced portfolio as well. So I usually tell people who are interested in this major to start chatting with their admissions counselor as soon as possible, just to make sure they're not missing anything. All right, so then we have our game design major. So this is the last concentration in the entertainment arts major. So game design is just like animation, teaching you the whole pipeline for the visual side of the game design world. So you will be learning how to do all of the pre-production, the concept, the writing, but also learning how to do the 3D modeling, the texturing, integrating things into the game engines themselves. Our students are mostly working with Unreal and Unity. And then, just like, honestly, a lot of game engines nowadays are pretty accessible for people that don't know a lot about coding, and we will teach you some of the basics if you need it. But we're not like creating these huge, massive, super intricate, fully finished games, but our students are honestly creating a lot of really cool playable stuff. Whether they're just personally on the side interested in that, or they're doing what they can with what a program like Unreal gives you, which is just kind of drag and drop. A lot of really, really cool things happening. A big reason that I encourage people to come to our student exhibition, which will start being open to the public May 13th, but don't quote me on that. It might be the 14th or the 15th. Really, really awesome, runs through the entire month. And you can literally come in, and if any of our students have created playable demos, you can come in and you can actually play them. And it's just like the whole school's open to the public and you get to see all the work that they did the entire year. But it's one of the easiest ways to see a lot of really cool game stuff from our students. So you can go in. I feel like video games, it's kind of straightforward as far as what the careers could be. But just picture yourself there. So then we have fashion design and fashion accessories design. So fashion at CCS is a major that you kind of come in, we teach you a little bit of the basics of everything, and then you get to split based on your personal interests and passion between fashion or fashion accessories. So we originally started as fashion accessories design just because there are so many careers out there for that, and not a lot of schools are catering to it. But when you think about it, 70% of sales in the fashion industry tend to be accessories. And it's just because, you know, it's way more justifiable for the average person to go out and buy a really nice pair of shoes or a really nice handbag than it is for them to go buy a giant designer luxury ball gown that they might only wear once. So there's so many really awesome careers out there for accessories designers, and we wanted our students to kind of get in there, and we really wanted to cater to that niche. So we are teaching you not just the design, like the drawing and the, you know, the ideation. We are teaching you the actual fabrication. We are teaching you the sewing skills, how to work with leather, whatever you might need to realize your vision. But then we are also teaching you the trend forecasting and merchandising side of it, because we believe that's a really important part of making a well-rounded designer. So then we have film. So film at CCS used to be part of our entertainment arts major. However, it has just kept growing and doing a lot of really, really cool things. And we felt like it was finally time for them to have their own room to breathe, and have kind of their own dedicated department and resources. And here it is. So there's a lot of really exciting things happening. Any genre of your choice. We will teach you the directing. We will teach you the VFX and the CGI. We will teach you the editing. We will teach you how to be behind the camera, working with lights, whatever your personal, like, you come in, you get to experiment with it all. You'll start doing your own thing. And then you start to figure out, oh, this is me. This is what I very much want to do. And we work with you. So we have illustration. This is definitely one of the more popular majors at CCS, and it's just because the degree in illustration, the way that we teach it, can literally take you into any career that might involve drawing or painting. So literally even some of the other things that we've looked at, just because we really, really focus on making sure that you understand all of the technical skills, the color theory, the image composition, the perspective drawing, the figure drawing, etc., in a ton of different mediums, both traditional and digital, so that when you leave, you are just a really well-rounded artist, you're a really strong illustrator, and then you can take those skills and do whatever you want with them. Because you can, like, just be an adaptive, flexible artist. We have students who go into the entertainment industry. We have students who go into graphic novels, working with children's books illustration, comics, editorial illustration, or even just the more fine arts oriented world, working as more traditional artists, gallery painters. We have, if we were to jump back to our alumni stories, we have Mario Moore. We're gonna jump real quick. Where'd he go? So Mario Moore is an alumni from our illustration department in 2009. He now has multiple pieces in the permanent collection of the DIA. There's a lot of really, really cool pieces. If you just look him up, I definitely encourage it. He's a really gorgeous portrait painter. And we're gonna jump right back. So interdisciplinary art and design. This is our most recent major at CCS. This is a really open-ended major, so it's not necessarily that there's any careers that it's going to be geared towards, because the whole point of this major is getting you to create your own curriculum that is going to best serve your needs if one major in particular at CCS is not quite it, or a really good major for you to kind of drive your own you know, your own personal interests and goals. So we're going to answer the question in the chat. So visual development is essentially concept art for the entertainment industry, designing characters, designing the color for shows, backgrounds, etc. This is the major that I recommend for people that are interested in character design for animation or more stylized games, comic books, etc. Just because I know that's a really popular one that comes up. This is definitely the major for that. And also, if you know you're interested in visual development, keep that word in mind. And when you go looking for artists to inspire you, specifically look for artists with that term, and you will find so many really awesome professional artists out there. So we have interior design. As you can see in the bottom right corner, we are a very technology-oriented interior design program. We are not here to just teach you to pick out, furniture and paint and throw it in a room. We are truly teaching you everything from scratch, from the ground up, learning how to use multiple 3D programs to visualize your goals and your plans. We are teaching you the building safety codes and the regulations and how to work with environmentally sustainable and ethically sourced materials. You can go into a ton of different fields from this, whether that's working in automotive, doing exhibit planning and designing for like museums or libraries or cool interactive spaces. You can do stuff in VR. You can do stuff just picking out colors and materials. There's so many things out there. Then we have photography. Photography at CCS is oriented both towards fine arts photography, learning how to work in galleries in the studio, and then also more commercial photography. So maybe you're interested in fashion or product photography or sports photography. There's a lot of different options out there. We teach you both the digital skills and the traditional photography skills that you might need to do whatever you want to. So then we have our two final majors that we're going to be looking at, which are product design and transportation design in a second, which are our two majors that are oriented around industrial design. Michigan is one of the best states in the entire country to be in for industrial designers, and it only makes sense that we have two really awesome programs that cater towards those jobs. So this is for people that are interested in pretty much everything else. You want to be an innovator, an inventor. You want to see the niches that are out there in the world that need to be filled or fixed, and you are the person that's going to fix and fill those things. So whether that's appliances, sneakers, toys, furniture, or just doing the user interface and the user experience, like when you go into an app or a website, all of that's under our product design umbrella. And then we have our transportation design major, which is doing all of the same stuff that product design is doing, but oriented around transportation, whether that is the automotive world with cars, trucks, etc., to bikes, planes, military vehicles. It is the sky is literally the limit. And honestly, at this point, it's probably not even the limit anymore. There's a lot of really cool things. This is definitely kind of the bread and butter program for our school. And then we have our art education program. It's not a major at CCS. It is a certification program that anybody can take regardless of their major. It kind of functions like a minor. You have a couple extra classes that you will need to take, and then you will have an extra semester of student teaching. And then we have foundations. Every single student at CCS is taking foundations courses. I'm not going to linger on this too long, though, just because we do have a time limit. So we do have our liberal arts classes. We believe in well-rounded education, well-rounded artists. While the majority of the classes that you'll take at CCS are, your studio art classes, we still are teaching you, history, science, math, writing, etc. And that is where liberal arts comes in. You can totally like minor in something in liberal arts. I know a ton of people that have gotten jobs out of their minor. Especially I hear a lot of people getting jobs in the art therapy world, working as art therapists, whether that's with children, adults, etc. Just from taking a couple extra classes at CCS and having that minor. So there's definitely a lot of really awesome things. Don't disregard the fact that you can definitely minor in something. It's literally 5 extra classes. They fill your elective slots. For the most part, depending on your major, you might have to squeeze in an extra class here or there, but absolutely an option. And then we have a business minor for our students, so they can major. Well, they major in whatever they want, and then alongside it, they are learning additional business skills in addition to the ones that are just already being taught in the classroom, so that they can continue to build on those and be an extra prepared entrepreneur. Maybe they're interested in starting their own business. We will work with all of that. We have a lot of really awesome study abroad programs. If you have questions about those, definitely ask me. And then I'm just going to leave this up on the screen so you can read it. And I am going to now stop the recording somewhere. There we go. Oops.